Hey, moms and dads, and grandparents, and foster parents, and caretakers. This is Andrea, and I wanted to post a video today on the topic of caring for children and family members who are now at home due to the COVID-19 quarantine. One of the main issues that's coming up for a lot of families is how do we handle the behavioral issues that now are primarily going to be in the home. So I am an adoptive mother myself, a former foster parent, and also a licensed professional counselor, where I work with individuals who have a history of trauma. And I want to address three different ideas for you if you are caring for a child who has severe behavioral issues. One of the main things that I would recommend is that you follow a strict routine with the child who has the history of trauma. The strict routine does not necessarily need to be upheld by the entire family, which may be kind of confusing because I know oftentimes we try and parent children the same across the board. And while we want to feed them the same foods and offer the same comforts as far as the home and those sorts of necessities, what I don't recommend is that all children are given the same strict routine. Children with a high history of trauma and severe behavioral issues also tend to have extremely high stress and anxiety in their bodies. So they really rely upon that high structure and high boundary in order to function at a higher level. All of your children in your home may not need that though. And it's okay to explain that to the family as a whole, because one of the main things you'll get from the child with behavioral issues is, but that's not fair. He's allowed to watch TV or she's allowed to get up and go do that. And what I recommend that your response be is just, well, that doesn't work for everyone. And so I don't want to encourage you to create a facility type arrangement with all of the children in your home, but rather make sure that that high structure and strict boundaries are for the child who needs it. Another idea that I would recommend is what is often referred to as rug time or blanket time. And this primarily works for children that are elementary age and younger. And what it is basically a small set place for that child to be while they learn how to regulate. And you're not looking at necessarily a time frame, so it's not a traditional disciplinary tool. It's actually meant to help the child self-regulate, and in many cases co-regulate, because the child is not able to self-regulate yet. So the way that this works is that if you notice that the child is becoming dysregulated, meaning their behavior is outside of the norm for them, what you would do is place a blanket on the floor or a rug on the floor and tell them that that is the boundary that they stay within. And of course, parents say the first time, like, oh yeah, like my child is gonna stay there, which is true. So the front end work of teaching the boundary and the intervention is worth the long-term benefit, especially because the quarantine probably will last for quite a while. And so it's really important to start practicing this early on to teach boundaries and regulation. It's never meant as a punishment. It's meant as a way for the child to begin learning how to regulate. The boundaries are nonverbal, meaning that you don't have to tell them over and over again where the boundary is at. They can see it. Also, I don't recommend that you become a stickler that every single body part is on that rug or that blanket. It's more about creating a space where that child is kept in that area. And it creates a place for the child to begin learning how to internally start to breathe and calm down. And then once they start to develop eye contact and are able to kind of make notice that they're watching and that they're starting to calm themselves, then allowing them, of course, to move about and go back to their routine. But that's also a really helpful way that I encourage daycare workers to work with children with severe behavioral issues as well. It keeps them and their bodies safe. It also can keep the room safe. Another intervention that I often recommend, and this is especially with older children who are able to, middle school, high school age kids, is having them sit at the table. This is really important because it often allows the child to watch the parent and get to know the body language and the movement of the parent, which is an attachment tool. Oftentimes, children with severe trauma in their early development didn't have the opportunity to watch their caregiver the way that a young infant watches their caregivers when they're very young. So we really want to be able to recreate something that's healthy for that child to watch the caregiver, get to know body language and safety, regulation. And so sitting at a table is really not, of course, it's not a punishment. And you can even tell that to the child. You're not in trouble. This is about you just learning how to feel safe and feel good again. You can offer some crayons and some paper or some writing tools if they want to write. Again, do not power struggle with them about this, because it's not about completing an art project or writing a paper. If they want to do something, then they have the option of using those tools. Otherwise, it's perfectly okay to just kind of sit and watch. And it can be a really healthy redo for that child to begin attaching in a secure way where they can, from a distance, learn that you are safe. Another idea that I really recommend during times where children are acting out with severe behavioral issues with aggression and violence is to not allow any unsupervised play between that child and any other child in your home. Do not assume that these behaviors are just going to go away because they seem to be playing okay. It can go from okay to dangerous within seconds at times for children, and then you'll have other children in your home who may be feeling traumatized. And so all play between the child with the severe issues needs to be supervised by an adult, or that child needs to only be playing with children who have the capability to self-advocate, meaning they're able to say, back up, get away, don't touch me, I'm gonna go talk to mom, or I'm gonna go tell an adult. If they don't have that capability, do not leave them unsupervised. In the next video, I'll be addressing some of the concerns that are underlying some of these behavioral issues, because oftentimes what underlies it is a lack of attachment. And without attachment, it's like expecting the child to overcome behavioral issues the way that we would try and breathe without oxygen. Your child needs attachment in order to regulate. So we'll be talking about that later. I hope this was helpful for you. Please reach out to your family counselors through any means that you feel is safe for your family, and I hope that you get the support you deserve. Have a good day.